Hey guys, good to hear listening to the Everything PlayStation podcast, the third episode already. We love the feedback that you guys give us, so keep it coming. Questions, of course, are also welcome. Here, of course, to discuss everything PlayStation with me is Zach Sharps. Hey man.
Well, hello there. He's got done with a stream before we recorded this, because this is done in the past, and you guys are listening to it in the future.
Yes. So it airs every Monday, 10 a.m. PST, 7 p.m. Central European Time, and 6 p.m. UK time right here on the Your Raptor YouTube channel. And of course, as always, we're going to run down the rapid news. So what happened in PlayStation land, we're gonna give our 2 cents and also just, go a little bit. Talk a little bit about those news articles, but we will go way more in depth in the topic, and we kind of switch things up a bit because of course the title of the video is the topic. So we decided to start with the topic so that you can immediately hear our discussion about the title, and this time it's about Horizon Zero Dawn, because that one just got a patch 1.3 update with the most exciting content since launch. Of course, it's free. You can download it right now. It's really like a bombshell. They said, hey, New Game Plus, you guys have asked this about this since launch. Well, go play it right now. So, of course, a lot of people did. You probably watching as well, and me as a big Horizon Zero Dawn fan as well. They also added a new difficulty mode, the ultra hard difficulty, really adding a different layer to the game with no health bars, enemies being way more aggressive. In New Game Plus mode, there's also new content like new weapons and gears. They just made the weapons and gear that we know and love, added a new modification slot to it, so that really gives them, makes them even more powerful. Also added 2 new trophies and also unlockables for if you finish the New Game Plus mode. So they really did a lot, and it was all free. Of course, later this year we can expect the paid DLC, the Frozen Wilds, for $20 in fall 2017. But what we wanted to discuss is because this is of course a huge pack that you just get for free, and they already added more photo mode options with the stances and the face for Aloy. So they already added a lot of new stuff. They also balanced the game a lot, of course. I already covered a lot of that, of course, on the channel, with the stealth being nerfed, with the shield weaver being nerfed. But what we want to discuss right now is looking at other PlayStation 4 exclusive and kind of making a conclusion like, is Horizon Zero Dawn like the best supported PS4 exclusive or not? So if we're just looking at PS4 exclusives, we of course have Infamous Second Son, we have Killzone Shadowfall, of course, also released by Guerrilla Games. We have Uncharted 4, obviously. The Order 1886, not so much. They didn't really do a lot of that with that game. Until Dawn, also of course a PS4 exclusive. Bloodborne got some DLC, like some paid DLC. And also some fixes, for example, like the load times were of course really long when the game came out, so they fixed that later on with a patch. But in terms of content, we saw with Infamous like a pretty interesting thing going on, Zach, right, with the 5 hours DLC that was added. Every week they added something new, so you can go after that. They also added the photo mode later on, of course that was already in Horizon Zero Dawn. With Killzone Shadowfall, they did a lot of stuff as well with the King of the Hill, so multiplayer mode. The maps were free, and of course they later added a paid DLC, the Intercept, with co-op things. So, of course we can't forget Uncharted 4, that also has a lot of, they added a full co-op mode. It was first only competitive, they later added a co-op mode. But that game has microtransactions, so them adding that stuff in still makes sense because they make money off people playing the game. So what do you think? Horizon Zero Dawn, I mean, there are no microtransactions in that game, and they probably will not add it if we have to trust Guerrilla Games, of course. They do have the new DLC coming up, so people joining back into the game makes sense. But what do you think about the topic?
Yeah, so I really think that Horizon has done a good job after launch in terms of, since it's a new franchise, they sort of, Guerrilla had to figure out what they wanted to do in terms of free updates. And if you look at all the other PS4 exclusives out there, it's not like the other ones have set that huge of a bar for them to cross. Because it's, if you look at things that aren't exclusive, like The Witcher 3 that offered 16 DLCs, including like a mission, as well as a lot of armor sets and New Game Plus, and then also its post-launch 2 expansions, Blood and Wine, Hearts of Stone, that's a huge bar to cross over. That would be something that I would be like, wow, if Horizon crossed over that, I'd be like, damn, that's amazing. But just looking at PS4 exclusives, there's not really a high bar there in terms of post-launch support. So I think that Guerrilla over time is going to be able to surpass that very easily. And I think right now they're on that bar already. So anything more that they do, like with the Frozen Wilds expansion, and also other expansions that may follow that, is just going to, set them apart even more from the other different PS4 exclusives out there. So I think Guerrilla's on a good path right now, and they've shown that, especially with like the new game plus and the new difficulty as well. That definitely seems to be very challenging. They also made like the machines more aggressive too, which is a nice touch with the added difficulty to make everything just even more difficult.
They just keep attacking now, right? It's insane.
Exactly.
Like they don't wait anymore.
Yeah, they're not passive. They're not passive at all. So yeah, it's really one of those things where Guerrilla has done a good job meeting the expectations of what PS4 exclusives usually hit, and they're going to surpass it as time goes on, just because they have a lot of time available to them in order to do that, especially since the launch has been so well received and the game has been so well received across the board.
Yeah, and there, like you said, there may be more expansions to come, so it looks like they're like not going to release this game at one expansion and then like move over to the next game, and I really hope that they don't, because right now they have such a great groundwork that they can just build on. And yeah, that's of course also a little bit what we see with Uncharted 4. I mean, that game is now like older than a year, and still they give us new updates. Of course, The Lost Legacy is coming out as well, and the multiplayer for Uncharted 4 will be included in that as well, with some new stuff as well. So that makes sense to then update that. I also saw that Uncharted 4 had a photo mode as well, so they're kind of following the same trend. Like, of course, the PS4 games look amazing, so a photo mode makes sense. Well, Horizon already had a photo mode, so they added new photo mode options. I would love, I mean, I already like kind of stressed this, and I still think that they did a fantastic job with the New Game Plus mode, just putting it out of nowhere and doing a little bit more than I expected in terms of the ultra hard difficulty, really making the game like a different game. You really have to think now, what armor am I going to use? What enemies am I facing? So should I go for resist melee arrows, or should I use my potion here, or just wait because, yeah, it's really scarce. So that's really cool what they did. And I hope that they continue to do so, because I was kind of like, okay, when the game launched, of course, at early March, at the end of February in the US, there was like from that moment till now, there was not really a lot of stuff to do. But like I said, they were figuring stuff out. They probably did not know that people would want a New Game Plus mode, so they started working on it from after launch. And it was a huge undertaking. I think that really what they learned from this is that people want to keep playing their game, and the feedback they see right now with people joining back with this New Game Plus mode is this also cool for them to see, right? To see people go back to the game. So I really think this is a cool trend, and I hope that for upcoming PS4 exclusives like God of War, that we will see this as well. Like, that they just keep pushing. Just why make us wait for another God of War that will be 3 years out if you still got this awesome game that you can also just give us a new mission or something like that for free, or a new weapon that we can toy around with. I really hope that they will follow a little bit of that trend with their other PS4 exclusives as well. It really makes sense, I think, and it would be a shame if they did not, because we have been waiting for games like God of War and Horizon Zero Dawn for such a long time. So of course Death Stranding will be the same, although it looks like that game will follow more of a online structure. So is there something to add to this topic? I really think that we both agree that Horizon Zero Dawn, if we look at the PS4 exclusive, like you said, did a great job already, and it's probably going to exceed that. But in terms of like other RPGs, it still has a lot to learn from The Witcher. Although what The Witcher did is pretty generous, right? They really had like every week a new armor or a new blacksmith, thing that you can craft or something like that. New side quest. We haven't seen that with Horizon, and yeah, that's a great way.
And the reason why I said that if Horizon surpasses The Witcher 3, that would be extraordinary, is because The Witcher 3 as an entire game has been an extraordinary type release, and it's just been received so well across the board that the reason that this Horizon being compared to that just shows the quality of the game. So if it was able to surpass that, then that would be just ridiculous, because getting two of those, massively amazing games in, less than a decade's time, just within the span of like a few years even, is just ridiculous. So I think that over time, Horizon's definitely gonna, especially with the second one, whenever they release that, they'll definitely have a lot more frequent support of it than what we're seeing this time around, because they're starting to get their feet wet with what they should release and when, how they should release it. They're starting to figure out, okay, what systems work well, what do people really like, what don't they really like, and they're fine-tuning different experiences based upon that. So it's just one of those things where Guerrilla just has to learn and gather information, learn some more, gather more information, and based off that release content, where The Witcher already had The Witcher 1 and The Witcher 2 that allowed them to really understand what do people want from this game. And so that's what we're sort of seeing this time around. And even with that, we're still getting a generous amount of content. So that's always a really good sign.
Yeah, they did not have to do that. They could just say, okay, guys, wait for the Frozen Wilds DLC, and you get your content then. And they really did, they really did what the fans were asking for. It was really like the #1 requested feature. Every time I made a patch video, people were like, oh shit, no New Game Plus mode. There are also some like features that people would love to see, but like being able to change the time at a campfire, so you're not like walking around in dark all the time. But that's like such a small thing compared to this New Game Plus mode and the ultra hard difficulty. So I'm glad they went that way instead of doing these small tweaks. I mean, that's cool and all that you can change your time of day at the campfire, but if you're not playing the game anymore, why bother, right? So really cool to see. Hopefully they will keep this content going, and really excited, of course, for the Frozen Wilds, and hopefully we'll see that as well with other PS4 exclusives. So let's get in to the rapid news, of course, where we discuss the news, everything PlayStation. Like we will not do like all the news. We just picked some things that we thought were interesting and giving us 2 cents and just a little bit talk about that. Will you start, or should I start with one of the...
Yeah, so I guess I'll start. Activision obviously released Crash Bandicoot, the Insane Trilogy, not too long ago, and it's been a huge success. I mean, what did it top June's charts when it was
We will
only
talk about
like
that later on in the podcast, but so, you're right, it's insane.
Yeah, so I mean, it's really had a great reception, and Activision's CEO has basically expressed that due to the new sort of passion for Crash Bandicoot, it could lead to other things. And I don't think this is really that surprising. I mean, Activision is driven by sales. If something sells, they make another one. They don't really care too much about the ratings of it. They more care about the sales reception. And so since Crash Bandicoot has sold so well, and also it's been received well, so it's sort of like a two pro thing right there. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, it makes sense to do something more for it. Does that mean that we're going to get Crash Kart Racing remastered? That would be amazing.
I wouldn't be surprised if they just put that like on a disc and released it as a standalone thing for maybe €15 or something, $15.
Yeah, I hope they remake it if they do, because I mean, if you look at like Nintendo, they have Mario Kart. Sony could easily bring forth, Crash Team Racing or Crash Kart Racing and make that their sort of Mario Kart on the PS4. And so if Activision does that, and if Activision works with Sony to make that sort of be a thing, that would be a very awesome addition to the PlayStation 4 and just Sony's brand in general. Yeah, because it would be exclusive to it. So yeah, I think this is good news. I like Crash Bandicoot. I haven't got around to the Insane Trilogy just yet, but when I do, I'm going to enjoy it quite a lot. Yep, you did die a lot. I did see that.
yeah. I need to get used to the controls again. But it's really awesome to see they really did a fantastic job. That's really like how you should remaster a game, give it so much love and stuff like that. It really feels
like with Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, totally. Like Ratchet and Clank felt like really a PS4 game. I really think that's still like above this. This is still like, but they didn't want to touch like the nostalgic feeling people had with the game, so they didn't want to change too much. Well, with Ratchet and Clank they did, but yeah, I agree. Both are amazing, and I think your point is solid. Like, if they want to bring back Crash Team Racing, why not make it a more full-fledged game, add better physics, like how it would like feel if it was like released this year or maybe next year. So I would be down for that. I mean, Sony is really like pushing the family stuff right now. They have said it multiple times that they already got kind of the hardcore gamers and they're at 60 million units sold. So they want to expand their audience right now. And so they think Spider-Man can help. I think we talked about that last week. The new Play Link they have with the mobile phone gameplay. So yeah, that you hook up your mobile phone to your TV, do some sort of quiz gameplay that way. And I think a Crash Team Racing that's kid friendly and stuff like that can also
I played
help.
CTR so much when I was younger. It's such a good game.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. So it will be cool to see that brought back, and I think that makes sense with the success. So games that are not really a big success are Gravity Rush 2, of course, launched in January. Not a lot of good reviews, that just like the Lost Guardian, but both did not sell. Like they did not make the top 20 that we will discuss later, like the top 20 top downloads in the US and the EU. As far as I know, I think both did really poorly in that sense. So they are working on new games right now. Sony Japan Studio is, of course, responsible for Gravity Rush and The Lost Guardian. And also they're working, like finishing up Neck 2 right now, that's launching in September. But right now they say, we can't crack out a Call of Duty or Battlefield or first-person shooter and make it sell. That's not what our expertise is, so we probably could not do it if we tried. Our angle is really to be different, and that's really trying to give people emotion. So yeah, they're probably just going for the weird Sony Japan games, do it their way, and Sony seems to support that. I mean, they could say, okay, Gravity Rush 2 did not really sell, The Lost Guardian, what the heck, that took so long, and yeah, it came out and didn't do really anything for us commercially. That's probably also why they're bringing back Shadow of the Colossus to still make a little bit of money on the Team Ico IPs, I would imagine.
Yep.
So I really think that it's interesting that they're still like, yeah, giving the Japan studio the resources to make these passion projects that have a low chance of being a commercial like success. Although maybe Gravity Rush 2 did not really cost a lot of resources and money to make, so it was probably a small team. So maybe they can they did profit on that. And with Neck 2, that's also like what I said with the family stuff. They really want to broaden their audience. Curious to see how that will shake out. I heard good things about it, but I don't know, man. Neck, I don't know.
Yeah, it's mainly just making the PS4 have even more value. That's really what the Sony
diversity
Japan Studio
as well
is. Yeah, and diversity. And as long as they come close to breaking even or break even or make a little bit of profit, I think that's all that really Sony looks at. They don't really care if these games are that, huge of a commercial success. I mean, of course they would hope that that's the case, but how big of a game did Sony even think that, Guerrilla Games Horizon was going to be when they first were making it? It's really one of those things where the more you produce that's diverse, the more that you try and experiment, one of your experiments is going to succeed. And so that's why I think, this studio is still receiving funding, still, going along, still thinking up, new ideas, is because even though these games maybe didn't sell like massive amounts of money like The Last Guardian and also Gravity Rush 2 was received very well in terms of critic scores, and I think Last Guardian was as well in some cases, but not in others. So they're creating good games. It's just they need to figure out what's going to sell even better, and then also still be able to be diverse in the sense of making like a more unique type experience. So it's a process, and I think that Sony just sees the quality coming out from them. It's just making it so they sell more, and that's why this makes sense to me, and why I think that we will see something very unique from them very soon, and I can't wait to see that because it'll just add more value to the PS4 brand overall.
I still want to play Gravity Rush 2. I mean, I love the first one on the Vita, and the second one like got great reviews. So I really hope that they will like do a huge sale at the end of the year and put it up for. I mean, there is a Japan sale going on. Maybe it's already cheap. I should check it out. Still have a lot of other games to play, but I think that this one is just fun to pop in and play for a few, maybe half an hour, and go back out. I really love that. It looks great as well. So, moving over, you are next up.
Yeah, so there's PS4 games that are now on PlayStation Now, which if
Oh
you guys don't
my
already know,
god.
PlayStation Now is the streaming service that everyone's famously sort of calling the backwards compatibility of the PlayStation 4.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
So yeah, but it's of course a paid service. And recently in North America, they added some PS4 games, 20 in total. Some of the highlights are like Killzone Shadowfall, God of War 3 Remastered, Saints Row 4 Re-Elected, Ultra Street Fighter 4, WWE 2K16, and then there's other ones as well. And then if you're in Europe, you have games such as like Heavy Rain, because there's 32 PS4 games that are going to be released in Europe, or a further 32. So in total, you're getting 52. And so, yeah, if you're in Europe, that is. So okay. North America kind of gets like the short end of the stick here, but you still are starting to see PS4 games release on PlayStation Now, which might open up in the future for something that we mentioned a long while back, I think. Didn't we like sort of poke fun at like Horizon showing up on PlayStation Now or whatever?
We did, yeah, we did.
Sometime in the future.
That's also like the title of that video was Horizon Zero Dawn on PC, something like that.
Yeah, so eventually that might be a thing, because I mean it makes sense long term, like in a few years maybe, for it to show up there. Just like, hey, you know, you're in the PlayStation ecostructure with PlayStation Now, you're just playing it on your PC. It's sort of like an emulation, but it's a paid emulation. So they kind of see the demand there, and that's why they're doing stuff like this. It's just they want to make sure it's very closed in, so it can't be pirated or altered in any way. So I don't know. I like the move. I think that this is a step in the right direction just in general for the gaming industry. I think exclusives are somewhat silly. But I think that also if companies like Sony want to lock down their ecostructure just to make sure that, you know, their games don't get pirated, I'm completely fine with that to a certain degree. If their stuff was already exclusive in the past. If it wasn't in the past, then it's kind of a dick move. But in this case, I think it's a good idea.
No, I totally agree. It would be interesting to see what other PS4 games they add. I mean, it really seems like they're adding the launch games. I mean, that's what we see, of course, with God of War Remastered as well that came out. I think not very long after the PS4. It's, of course, also a PS3 game. And, of course, Killzone was a launch game. And that's kind of the leading title here that was never playable on the PC before. So maybe in 3 years we will see Horizon if this is like, because Killzone came out even like longer, 2013. So 4 years ago almost.
4 years. Yeah.
So yeah, maybe we will see Horizon Zero Dawn 2021. Lock it in, guys. No, but yeah, it will be interesting to see if they're going to push this more aggressively, maybe with games like Uncharted or something. That we already talked about this last week, but how can you make PlayStation Plus more interesting? Like add a huge game, and that's of course the same with PlayStation Now.
Yep, exactly.
So yeah, we already kind of teased it a little bit, like with the top downloads. You said Crash Bandicoot was a huge seller, and yeah, the PlayStation Store, like top downloads of Europe and also the US, they both show that. We see Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy in Europe, so these are the top downloads, like in the PlayStation Store, of course, is number one. Like it was one day on sale, like June 30th. That's when the game released, and it was still number one. So that's pretty huge. Of course, the other games that came out, not really noteworthy in June. So it did not really have a huge competition, because the second game was Friday the 13th. That's pretty interesting that game is like not getting great reviews. Still a lot of people are buying it. Was number 2. 3 was FIFA, Gran Turismo or Grand Theft Auto 5 was 4, Tekken 7 also launched in June, so that's 5. That's not a really good score for a new Tekken game to be on number 5. Horizon Zero Dawn number 6. Battlefront 7, Battlefield 4, 8, Battlefield 1, 9, and Rocket League 10. You also can see the PSVR games. Mortal Bliss was number 1. For DLC, the Call of Duty Black Ops 3 Zombie Chronicles DLC was number 1. And the new Diablo 3 Rise of the Necromancer DLC was number 2. FIDA Killzone Mercenary was number 1. FIFA 17 for PS3. And then, if we go to the US, we kind of see a different list, with Friday the 13th beating Crash Bandicoot in the US. Then We see number 3, Middle of Shadow Mordor, that had a huge price cut, so that's probably why it was number 3. Gran Turismo, or Grand Theft Auto. Why do I say Gran Turismo? Grand Theft Auto, number 4.
You keep wanting Gran Turismo.
Is it coming out? I don't know, man. I just want it. God of War Remastered, wow, number 5. That's a pretty good thing. Battlefield 1, number 6. Horizon Zero Dawn, also in the top 10 here on number 7. Tekken 7, again, number 8, and that's not good for a new release. Minecraft PS4 Edition, number 9. And Rocket League still getting in there at number 10. For PS3 games, also FIFA 17 in the US. Also, the add-ons are the same with Call of Duty Black Ops 3, Zombie Chronicles on number 1, Diablo 3 number 2. Arizona Sunshine, like the PSVR zombie game, was number 1 in the US, most sold PSVR game. God of War Collection for PS Vita was the best-selling PS Vita game. So you can of course check that out on the PlayStation blog if you want the full rundown. But yeah, Crash Bandicoot is selling really well. That might lead to other things. I think we will see more of Crash Bandicoot. They will not ignore that, especially not Activision. They want to exploit everything if they can make some money. So and this really shows that. I mean, if you are like on sale for one day and you manage to beat every single game, that's huge. That's really huge. So yeah, it sold a lot. I mean, it was also the biggest, of course, launch in the UK. Behind Ghost Recon, so the number 2. It's a freaking collection of old games. So that is interesting. Then, to round the podcast out, I think it will be a shorter one, although we're reaching the 30 minutes. I think it's, of course we want to be a compact podcast, just talk about the things that we think matter. Also, if you have questions, drop them down in the comments down below. We will also love to talk about them. So the drop, of course, every week on the PlayStation blog, on the US PlayStation blog, Sony puts up an article saying what games will be coming to the PlayStation Store this week. So, of course, by the time you watch this, Monday through Friday. And this time, I mean, it's July. So, yeah, that we are not seeing really exciting games is not really a surprise. Still a lot of games coming out.
Want some indie with your indie?
Yeah, exactly. So all the indie games are like really making use of this like drought in terms of like AAA releases. The biggest one we see is Final Fantasy 12. Do you want to talk about that, or is it not? Okay?
I mean, it's not a game that I played in the past. I think it's definitely noteworthy that it's showing up. I mean, it's
the
definitely
Zodiac
not a
Age
bad edition.
Yeah, it's of course a re-release of the PS2 classic.
Yep.
So yeah, we see a hunting simulator game, of course, hunting with a sniper on deers. That's still a thing. And I wanted to, I think Minecraft Story Mode Season 2, I think that's also noteworthy, of course, the Telltale game series. So that's coming back, and it's coming out this week. And I wanted to give a shout out to Mr. Shifty, because I haven't played this yet, but I saw someone, like a colleague of mine, when I was going to E3, he was playing this on his Switch on the airplane. So this is like Hotline Miami, that style of game, so top down, and you really have to like beat all the guys to finish to the next room. That's really what you're doing, but the change here is that instead of you having guns, you have like this teleport ability that you can use to teleport through walls and stuff like that. So you're sort of a superhero that has to beat everyone. But it's supposed to be pretty good. The Switch version had a lot of frame drops, so I'm curious to see if the PS4 version will be the same. But it's a digital download, so if you like Hotline Miami, I think it's worth looking at. So I think that was it, right? That was the PlayStation or Everything PlayStation podcast, the third one. I think we kind of covered it all. If we missed anything, please let us know in the comments down below.
Yeah, it was certainly like a condensed week. I mean, there was some rapid news and whatnot, but there's definitely more that's going to be coming over the course of time. Cause
Gamescom's coming.
With July is not really the fastest month, but as we move later in the year, especially once we get near holiday, oh man, I see us reaching 50 minutes on some of these podcasts, 'cause there's probably going to be a lot of stuff going on. But I mean, it's with like just to go back to like the top downloads, I mean, Crash Bandicoot's is doing great. I mean, I saw it on Amazon being sold out here and there.
It's insane.
So yeah, it's like, wow. I mean, I knew a lot of people love Crash Bandicoot, but I didn't expect this amount of people to like just flock on it immediately. I did find it funny though on Twitter. I'm not sure if you saw it, but there was like trending of people saying, was Crash actually this hard back in the day? Like, what the hell? People just struggling. It's like Dark Souls, but a platformer instead. So yeah, I mean, I'm very happy with Crash, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. So
yeah, you totally should check it out if you. I mean, sold out. Come on, guys, just freaking download the game via the Play Store. But on the other end,
no physical copy to trade in. What are you talking about?
Okay, I get it. But I really switched to digital. But on the other end, and that's what you also really see with these type of nostalgic games, like having the copy like in your hand, like, wow, this is really a thing. It really gives that extra like feeling. I think that, wow, this is really in my hands right now. It's on the PS4. I can't believe it. While digital download, of course, does not have the same impact. But yeah, when we know more about Crash, we'll of course discuss it in this podcast, and of course keep you up to date on everything PlayStation. So this podcast airs every Monday, 10 a.m. PST, 7 p.m. Central European Time, and 6 p.m. UK time, right here on the Your Raptor YouTube channel. We heard you say, well, bring it to SoundCloud as well. We're looking into that. We might do that in the future, but for now we're sticking to the Your Raptor channel for just a video format. But who knows what happens? But we really appreciate the feedback. I loved, what you guys had to say like the previous week. So hopefully you keep that coming. Thanks a lot for watching. Of course, don't forget to hit the like button if you like the podcast. Subscribe to the channel for more PlayStation news, Horizon Zero Dawn stuff, and second me discussing all things PlayStation. So thanks a lot, Zach, of course, for joining me this week. Next week you will be the host again, and hopefully we'll have some awesome things to discuss. So goodbye, guys. Have a great week, and see you later.
Goodbye.